On March 13, 2003, the Biden administration allowed for the largest oil drilling project in the U.S. to take place. This came after months of intense debate because the Biden administration said multiple times throughout press interviews that drilling in the U.S. would no longer continue, let alone in Alaska. First, let's establish what the Willow Project actually is. The Willow Project was first recognized by Warren Harding in 1917. The land he set in place for oil drilling is called the National Petroleum Reserve, Alaska. ConocoPhillips is the producer of the Willow Project. They believe that there will be 600 to 800 billion tons of oil produced, along with 260 million metric tons of gas. They also believe that the Willow Project will generate $8 to $16 billion in revenue for the U.S. and for Alaska. They also believe that there will be around 2,500 construction jobs and around 300 long-term jobs. A lot of the protests were done by climate activists. The Sovereign Inuit activist group and the Earth Justice group were some of the few. These protests became very public and were also brought to the White House many times. Many of these protesters were carrying signs saying, "Defuse the Willow Project bomb and stop Willow." Along with there being protests at the White House, there were also over 1 million letters written to the White House stating that they don't want the project to go through. Along with the letters, Change.org got over 2 million signatures on petitions trying to stop the Willow Project. The Willow Project will lead to a loss of infrastructure. That we know is true. Many endangered species may be affected, but the Bureau of Land Management has approved the project as safe. Earth Justice lawyers argued this approval. They believe that this was an unlawful exception of the Willow Project. They state that the infrastructure alone will devastate the Alaskan tundra where the Willow Project will take place and will affect the many endangered species there. The greenhouse gas emissions and carbon dioxide emissions were said by the Earth Justice lawyers to not even be taken into accountability by the Bureau of Land Management. Saning Mapin states that the project is overall just a bad decision by the Bureau of Land Management. She believes that they didn't take into account the carbon dioxide and greenhouse gas emissions, same with the Earth Justice lawyers, but also didn't take account to the people that live in that area and will have to experience the emissions on an everyday basis. But while that is also a very unfortunate thing, the project is a very vital to the U.S., ensuring that the U.S. has its own oil processing abilities. That way we don't have to rely on authoritarian regimes for our oil production. ConocoPhillips expects that Alaska will see up to $2.5 billion in revenue alone. That money can improve the Alaskan economy along with allow for more infrastructure to be built throughout Alaska. Nagrok Harkok, president of the Arctic Inuit program, believes that this economy boost will bring much needed things to Alaska, like more schooling, buildings, and also more food availability and agriculture. Reducing fossil fuels is near impossible in the U.S. This country was built with an infrastructure that involved oil drilling, fossil fuel burning, and overall just burning of oil itself. Trying to remove this infrastructure would lead to many different ways, many different mess-ups and impossibilities. Our cars are gas run, a lot of our electricity is gas run. Trying to switch to more renewable energy projects is basically not possible. You would see every house with a solar panel, and every field there would be solar panels and wind turbines. Along with, if you would go out to the ocean, you see wind turbines throughout the area. Nuclear power is a possibility that could sustain the U.S., but it comes with its own downsides. Radioactive waste is just one of those, along with it being a little bit unstable, and we don't have the proper technology to improve it. Paul Dehom of the National Renewable Energy Lab says, the cost of transitioning, let alone, is detrimental. It would take years to overturn capital stocks and try to find a way to financially be able to support people who change everything to renewable energy. Basically, everything in the modern day house would have to be removed, along with the stove, cars, and overall the electricity throughout the house. In conclusion, This project is a very needed evil. Because the US doesn't have the proper infrastructure in place, it means that we will have to continue to rely on oil drilling. But the importance of this project is that the Alaskan people and government will see a rise in financial ability. This allows Alaska not have to only rely on the government so much and not rely on federal aid as much as the people do nowadays. Yes, it is sad that there may be people affected by this project, but I believe that renewable energy is not in the place it needs to in order to completely buy out all oil and fossil fuels. Thank you.